Okay, so I just want to get everything that we didn't talk about out of the way so we know what we're doing here. So if I want to draw, I've made this separate layer, and we'll call this Doodles. If I can get it to click. Okay, and then I'm going to go see if my pen works today. And it's going to... There we go. Okay. So I'll do some doodles, figure out what I want to do. You know, just scribble it out. See if I can find something in there. Just keep going. Sometimes it's easier to do smaller ones because you have the fat brush and stuff, but... You know, let's see. Let's do that. Anyway, so I've got a few of these going on here. You know, I haven't done these in a while either, so we'll see what we get. And let's see what we get. So, all right. So now when you want to change these, let's say I did a bunch of these and I liked them. One of the things we could do is these tools here. So here's the move tool, and the move tool button is V. And the marquee tool, and the marquee tool is this box, so I can select an area, and that's M is the shortcut for that. Noted that if you push Shift, it'll change between which marquee it does. It does a circle or a square, and there's other ones too. The next one that we were talking about was the paintbrush, and the paintbrush is just doing this, you know, that's the paintbrush. And if you want to change the settings on your paintbrush, you can take the transfer and you can make sure it's set to pen pressure, and then do that, and then do shape dynamics and pen pressure, and then you can see that it's doing that for me. Okay. And then we have my panel, or my layers over here. Is the one I always just keep up. So if I want to move things around, I can just take take the marquee tool, which is the M tool that we were just talking about, and then Control C or Control X to get rid of it, and Control V to paste it in there, and then I can just move it to where I want it to be. We talked about using the View tool and coming over to Guide Layout and setting up this guide so it's like, let's say 3, and then by, let's say 4. Okay. So I can move these all in here. Let's say that I do like these separate, and I'm just going to grab each one, X, V. If you go Control X and then Control Shift V, it'll paste it in the exact same spot. Go back to V again, move. V also is a selection tool, so if I click on anything right now, it's going to see how it jumps to, let me unlock, well, it jumps to whatever layer I select, see? That's because it's set to this button up here, auto select. So we're gonna know about that. When I do that, I'm gonna delete this right here. And then, oops. Wow, I'm doing great. I'm gonna do that again. So I'll delete it and then deselect. And then let's say I did want to scale them all uniformly. I could grab all 3 of these layers by just holding Control and click, click, click. Or I can do Control and Shift click to go up to the top one, and then I can just transform, and that was Control T to transform, and whatever I've selected goes into the transform tool, and then you hold, oh goodness, do that again because they changed that on me. So no change makes the uniform work. There we go. And then again, if I click off, I go back to V to move, and I click off, and then I click back on. There it is. You'll notice that when I click on the ground, it doesn't do anything. That's because it's locked. You can turn that on, or you can lock it back up. That just means it's unselectable, uneditable. What else did we talk about? If you want to save, it's Control Shift S for save as, save on your computer now, or Control S, and then we'll save the desktop and blah, blah, blah. If I want to change the hues and saturation, like we're doing in the color palettes, let's say I want to take this one and I want to make it a brighter color. If I hold Control and then push U, comes up with the color hue saturation tool. If I want, I can just colorize this one, and then I'm going to put up the color, and you'll see it doesn't seem like it's changing. That's because there's too much darkness, and there we go. If I turn this up and do saturation on it a little bit more, maybe pull it back down. Let's do purple. Okay, so I can do that, and what we were talking about is in the color palette selection, if I hold Alt and select any object and then hold Shift, it'll duplicate it and then lock it into the same direction. And then I can go back to Control U and do, like, if I wanted to, I'd do another color palette, but I think that we were doing -45 to make it a different one, and then I can go above it, Shift at the last second, and it snaps it. And then Control U and do negative or +45 like that, and it, well, I grabbed the wrong one, so I have to do it twice. So it should be Control U, oops, hello, Control U, and it should be 90, right? So it goes up. So that's how you do that. And then you can name your layers, you know, Doodle Red, Doodle Violet, and yeah, I'm pretty good, that's red. I'll call this Fuchsia. Click on this one, double click on the name, and say Doodle Red. Okay, so I've got those three. If I wanted to zoom in and out, I push the Z button and I can zoom in and out. If I wanted to invert my palette, if I take this and I push Alt, if I go to the brush or the fill tool, I say Alt and I select a color, it selects that color that I have selected there. If I went to the bottom layer and unlocked it and then did a fill, which is the G button, and remember the G button by default may go to the gradient tool. Any of these buttons that have these drop down, these little arrows, meaning there's more options, if you hold Shift, it gives you those options to cycle through. So I'll say fill, and then I'm going to come down here and do a U again, and then and this time I will do 90 negative. Oops. And so I filled that in. We've talked about, we've looked at masks. I don't want you to worry about masks right now. And then what else? Layers you duplicate. You can just copy them. You can also push Control E to collapse them into one layer. So now you'll see they're all one layer. And if you want to duplicate it, you can push Alt and drag, and it'll just duplicate it by itself right on top of itself instead of the movement position. I'm going to take this one and go Control U again and brighten it up there like that. And now I've got that set up. Like if you wanted to, you could do M for marquee tool, right, and select this. If I wanted to add more to that selection, I could show Shift and then Shift for adding. If you want to take away from the layer, it's Alt, and you'll see it turns into a minus symbol. So I could do like Alt and select. Okay, and then I could take this layer right here and do a Control U and say, let's do -45. No, let's do +45. Like that. And if I deselect and I push Control H, it hides those guides. If I want to get rid of them altogether, I can come over to View and say Clear Guides. If I want to make my own, I can hold, when I have the ruler up, I can control and drag it down. If you don't have the ruler up, it's Control R, V. Yep, and I think that's it. So have fun. I will see you next Saturday or Friday, and we will go over it in class. And there you go.